Okay, so it's safe to say that anime is pretty big, right? I would say so. You watching this would say so, considering that you're watching a YouTube video about anime. But I'm sure you, just like me, get asked all the time, hey, what show should I start watching first? Hey, what would you recommend? Let me know. Well, today, Christian and I are going to be doing that for you today. We're going to break down 3 animes each for you, and we have them broken down into 5 categories. We're going to rank them, so it's going to be animation, characters, outfits/costumes, story, and rewatchability, as well as an overall rating for these shows. So after you're done watching this, you will have a guide to let you know whether or not you should watch these shows. So let's get into it. Okay, so first show I want to break down for you is going to be Dorohedoro, the Netflix special anime series that only has 1 season right now. When are we getting season 2? Not sure. But let's get into it. So, Dorohedoro, when you see this show at first, you might think, whoa, this is weird because the animation is 3D. And if you know anything about me, that's kind of off-putting at certain times. The only show that's done it, or the only product that I've seen do it correctly so far, has been the new Dragon Ball movie. That shit is crazy. But Dorohedoro does it kind of in a tasteful way. So the animation of this show, I would say overall, because the 3D animation does play a part to it, I'm going to give the animation of Dorohedoro probably, let's go 3.5 out of 5 Dragon Balls. That's right, we're going to be ranking them with Dragon Balls. So animation for Dorohedoro, 3.5 stars. And then the characters themselves. So this show overall it's a show about sorcerers who are in a different world, but it's slightly separate from the human world, but they cross paths. And the story for that is going to be the main character, Kaiman. He's trying to figure out who the hell turned him into this lizard. Because when you first see it, you're like, why does this man have a lizard head? It's crazy, right? You're like, wow, this is the weirdest thing ever. But Kaiman himself is just on a mission to find who turned him into this. And along the way, he meets different friends and adversaries. So the first one we have along the way, besides Kaiman, we have Noi. She is a total badass. She's super buff, super strong, leaning into that whole kink. If you're into buff ladies, she's awesome. And also along the way, we have the adversary that they're fighting against. We have N. He's the leader of the human world, I guess, and he's finding out that Kaiman's going around just fucking shit up, so he sends people after him. And N is super dope. He looks like Super Saiyan God Vegeta because he has red hair, and he's a worthy opponent, but also he's creepy, but he's also like, I wouldn't say he's like you can side with him throughout, but he is just like, he's cool and you enjoy him as a villain. It's very much so like I don't mind him as a villain. It's not like I want to kill him. It's just like, oh, I see what he's doing this for, but also I have a little bit of sympathy for him, but he's just so cool that it all cancels out. And then my favorite character in the show, we have Shin. He is a assigned hunter to hunt down plenty of other sorcerers in the show. He has a tuxedo. It's super cool. So leading into the next category. So characters that we have, the cast of characters that we have, I'm going to give them 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. They're solid casts. I enjoy everyone in the show. There really isn't anyone that I'm kind of just like, okay, why is this character here? No, they all have a point, and I enjoy them all. So leading into the next category, speaking of Shin's tuxedo, we have costumes. So the costumes that we have in the show, top notch. I'm going to give them 5 out of 5 Dragon Ball just right off the bat, so you know. Like I said, Shin, he wears a tuxedo, and he has a heart for a head. We have Kaiman, who has a leather jacket. That's always a cool look. I enjoy that a whole lot as well. And like I said earlier, we have Shin, who looks like Super Saiyan God Mode Vegeta. He has the spiky red hair, and he wears a mask the whole time. So everybody's costume, it kind of fits in the aesthetic of just like that, like goth horror elements that kind of fit into it and get a little bit of that Pulp Fiction aesthetic too with the tuxedos. But yeah, 5 out of 5 in the category of costumes. Next category, we have story. So the overall story, like I mentioned earlier, it's about Kaiman. He is a human who got turned into a lizard by a sorcerer. So he's pretty much trying to find the person who did it, because if he finds him, he gets his human head back and he will stop being a lizard. The story itself is kind of like a revenge story situation. So far, it is a little confusing in parts if you're not paying attention. So I would say the story itself, I'm going to give that another 3.5 Dragon Balls. It's only season 1 though, so it could get fleshed out and be a little bit stronger or lower, who knows. But for me, what we've seen in the show, 3.5 out of 5 Dragon Balls. Next category is going to be rewatchability. What would I say the rewatchability is for this? I've only seen the season once, so I guess the rewatchability is probably like 1 star Dragon Ball out of 5 stars. But it's not saying that it's like bad. It's one of those shows where like you watch it and you're like, okay, I've seen it. Now I want to see what happens next. I'm not going to really go back to it to keep watching it, because there's only certain shows that have that rewatchability for me. So I would say out of rewatchability, not bad, but rewatchability itself is 1 point, or no 1 point, just 1 out of 5. And overall, the show itself, the rating for you, would I recommend it? Yes, I'd recommend it. Overall, the show itself, I'm gonna give it, because I don't want to give it 5 because it's not perfect yet. I'm gonna give it probably 3.5 out of 5.
All right, my turn. Let's get into something I'm a little bit of an expert in: romance. That's right, not in real life, but in anime. So we're gonna go into one of my favorite shows, Horimiya. Most people have kind of heard about this, maybe not seen it, but I'm here to break it down for you, make it a little easier for you. As far as animation goes, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. It is top tier as far as like slice of life goes and such like that, but it's nothing too crazy. The colors that they use, you know, the lights and the darks, stuff like that. Yeah, nothing really goes into the anime. It's pretty simple as far as, you know, you're crazy. There's no fight scenes or crazy beam powers and shit like that. So moving into the characters, obviously you have, like I said, Kyoko Hori and Izumi Miyamura. Those are your 2 main characters. It's kind of like you have Hori, she's more of like your popular girl in school. You know, she's into the sports, she's into the extracurricular activities. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum. You have Miyamura. He's your gloomy, kind of depressed, like, you know, I don't talk to nobody, you know, nobody really messes with him kind of thing. He's just like, you know, your class edgelord. Underneath all that gloom and doom, he's actually pierced up, tatted kind of guy, but he has to hide it because, you know, he's an underage kid. He doesn't want people looking down on him more than they already do. As far as characters go though, they actually kind of give everybody their own unique personalities. So it kind of helps let you pick out people within the story, and it just makes it easy to follow because everyone kind of has their own little pathways that they do things. So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. No one really is like sticks out crazy to me, but they're still like very relatable. They're human people. Again, no crazy powers, no power-ups, no demons, nothing like that. That's all pretty simple. Costumes and outfits, again, it's simple. I think I gave this one like right in the middle. I didn't know we were doing halves, so I just gave it a 3 out of 5 because, you know, there's nothing too crazy. They just wear your typical school uniform, you know, the sweater pants or slacks, whatever. And then when they're not at school, it's your casual kind of wear. Nothing too crazy except for like Miyamura sometimes does wear shirts and stuff that expose his tattoos and his piercings, even though he doesn't like to show them off at school. So that's going right in the middle for me, 3 out of 5, nothing too crazy. The story, as far as the story goes, it's kind of just the romance following Hori and Miyamura as they kind of, their budding relationship, these 2 opposites attract kind of thing. Just following their story and all the things that they go through, kind of learning about the backstories of the characters, but they're very relatable people. And it ends very heartwarmingly. I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you decide you wanna watch it, but I think the ending really wraps it all together. And even they do have little side stories because there are side characters, you know, they're friends and such like that, and they kind of have their own romance thing going on. So, you know, it does give you a break so you're not staled out from just the one kind of relationship. You have more going on the sides, and they kind of touch on everything. As far as rewatchability goes, if you're into that sort of thing, romance, slice of life, nothing crazy, nothing, you know, just real simple, relatable people, it's really easy to rewatch. It's, I think, 1 season right now. I don't know if they're gonna get a 2nd season. The way they ended it could have possibly given it a 2nd season. All around, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5 in watchability. Again, if you're not into that kind of thing, romance, types like that, it might be a little hard for you to rewatch. I personally am big on that. I think it's very easy to watch. Overall rating, I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5. So yeah, that's a 4 out of 5 for Benny. Moving on to the next one.
Okay, next up on my breakdown, I have for you Darwin's Game. Okay, so this is a show that I recently watched. It was one of those ones where you're kind of like in a show hole, so you're looking for something to watch, and I was browsing through Hulu, and I was like, oh, this only has like 12 episodes, let's watch it. So Darwin's Game will be next on my list because it is a show that I watched most recently, not because it's the best, okay? So, starting us off, we have animation. So this story is kind of like a reverse isekai type show. So the animation itself, it has to rely a lot on like doing like video game effects and stuff like that, and the kills in here are a little downplayed, I would say. There's some that are cool, but there's some that are downplayed because of it. But as far as like the fight scenes and everything goes, the animation comes through well. They have some cool set pieces, cool action pieces, and there's like cool little effects that they achieve. Like there's certain scenes where one of the characters, Shuka, her whole thing is she has chains, she flies through the sky kind of like Spider-Man. So a lot of her fight scenes were really cool because you could tell the budget kind of went more into her stuff. And then when the characters die, they kind of like pixelate away. So a lot of those cool little tricks here and there really help it out a lot. It's not like gonna stand out amongst like the bigger battle shonens, but as far as for what it was, the animation itself, I did enjoy it. So I'm gonna give it probably, let's give it 3 out of 5 Dragon Balls. Characters themselves. So the characters of Darwin's Game, like I said, it's a reverse isekai. So the whole thing is that they're they play a game on their phone, and the whole thing is kind of like a Hunger Games type thing where they have to go around killing everybody and eliminating them from the game. So we get a lot of characters that we meet along the way. So our main character that we have, Kaname, he is our protagonist who kind of gets like greatness thrust upon him, that type of situation. So he starts off pretty weak, and then he gets strong throughout the show. And his whole thing is that he wants to stop people from playing the game. So his motivation and reserve kind of stays throughout. So I enjoy him. And then we have his love of the story, Shuka, who meets him. She fights him, and they end up falling in love because of the rivalry that they had. And she was the first one to kind of like give her a hard time, because up until that point she was undefeated, and he was the first one to really beat her. So soon she just falls in love with her. So she's cool. She definitely plays like the love interest that is like crazy about you. It kind of reminds me of what's her name from Death Note, Mika. Like that type of relationship where it's like, oh, I'm just crazy obsessed with you, but I'll do anything to defend you. So as the show goes on and the relationship gets stronger, you can see that she really does actually have love for him. It's not just like a whole thing of like, oh, I worship you. It's like, that's how it starts, but then it becomes more of like, oh, I really do, I've grown fondly of you, and like I'll do anything to protect you, and I'm following you. You're our fearless leader. And along the way they meet other people, same kind of way, where they fight and then they end up joining the squad, so they get their own party going along. And each person in the party, you do become pretty well acquainted with them. I would say the characters along the way, I'm gonna give them a 4 out of 5, because most of the characters in here I did enjoy, and the characters who are meant to be like the bad guys do play the bad guy. Like the main bad guy of season 1, the arc, he is kind of a piece of shit. He's not like, he's the opposite of Shin that I talked about last time, and no, this guy is like, really, you want him to die. Like, I don't care what the fuck happens to him. So definitely good to have a villain like that in certain places. So yeah, 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls on characters. Costumes, so they pretty much wear just like what they wear in real life. It's nothing too crazy. There are certain ones that do stand out, like in the beginning he fights like a baseball mascot, and he has like a big panda head, so stuff like that's cool. But along the way, their costumes that they wear really aren't anything too crazy. Shuka's probably is the coolest because she just wears a dress. It's a bright red dress. So I'm gonna give it like 3 no, not even point, just 3, straight up 3 out of 5 Dragon Balls as far as the costumes go. So story, I've been mentioning it before. Maybe we should start doing story at the beginning so we kind of get like an idea of what the show's about. So the story itself, like I said, it's a reverse isekai where like the world comes to you instead of you going to the world. You get a phone app, and as soon as you accept the terms to agree to play, you're in this game. And the game, like I mentioned earlier, is kind of like a Hunger Games situation where you have to eliminate everybody and get points to win. And when you eliminate them, as far as we know, they're dying. So that's the whole thing. The whole story is that if you win the game, you get a wish, and whatever wish you want, I think it's within whatever the game creator's power is, it gets granted for you. So everyone has their own reasons and motivations for getting a wish and wanting the wish. People want to become all powerful. People want to protect other people. People have like, they have to have this wish because they're gonna, their lives are gonna be in shambles otherwise. So not an amazing like overall story. It's just a cool little like battle shonen type situation. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 Dragon Balls. Next is the rewatchability of it. Because it is so short, I think it is a higher rewatchability, and it's kind of cool to like show with your friends. Like, hey, you guys want to get into the show and watch it with me? I'll rewatch it. So it's not the most like least watchable. It's pretty okay. It's pretty rewatchable because of how short it is and how easy it is to understand. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 Dragon Balls. And so the overall rating for Darwin's Game out of 5 Dragon Balls, I'm gonna give it 3 Dragon Balls. Yeah, 3 Dragon Balls. It's pretty average, but it is a fun watch. And shows like that, we kind of need to go along between the big shows that we are keeping up with. Like I said, it was a show that I found in a show hole, and I was like, yeah, let's just watch it. So 3 out of 5, I believe, is pretty appropriate for the show.
Next one on my list, Mushoku Tensei. Arguably, I think could get into one of the top 4, but we'll get into that. Anyways, Mushoku Tensei, we're gonna switch it up. I'm gonna start with the story. It starts with, I don't even think they give you his name. He's a shut-in. He's a NEET, as they call him. He just sits at home and plays video games all day. Menace to society, contributes nothing. It is an isekai, so he does get trucked. Truck-kun makes an appearance, and he gets hit by a truck and reincarnated into a baby in a new world. I believe the world is called Migurdia, and he's born as a boy named Rudius Grey Rat. as everybody calls him, Rudy. So he starts his life as a baby, and you kind of see the first season kind of just like his development, you know, learning what his new life is, eventually dipping into magic. Story is definitely getting a 4. I'm getting a 5 out of 5. It does kind of start off kind of hard to keep watch. Most people give animes 1 or 2 episodes, but if you, like I said, if you can get past the creepy part that is Rudy, I think the story overall gets really great and definitely keeps you coming back for more. Moving into the characters, again, you have Rudy, the main protagonist. Rudy is Gray Rat. You have his mom and dad, Paul, and I don't remember what his mom's name is at the top of my head. You have Roxy, which is his like magic teacher. And you eventually do get to meet this girl named Eris, who Rudy teaches, and what is called a supered, which are like these like other race of people who are just like supposed to be super strong. People call them demons because they're supposed to be bad people. His name is Rudyard. The characters themselves, again, a 5 out of 5. Everyone kind of has their own unique personality. You kind of fall in love with everybody. There is a few mishaps here and there. Again, Rudy's kind of weird too, so it is kind of hard to relate to him, but he does get better. Costumes and outfits. Costumes and outfits, I think, as far as like, you have obviously your class system. You have, you know, your poor kind of like peasant people, your rich type nobles. The poor peasant people, you can kind of tell they're wearing like, you know, just plain browns, looks like a burlap sack almost, kind of cloth pants, nothing too crazy, nothing's gonna like provide you with like protection against warmth and cold, but it works for them, you know. But then you see like Roxy, she's actually a noble. She's wearing more of nicer clothing, still kind of the same color scheme, so I think that's just kind of like their country's color. But you also do meet nobles later who are obviously dressed a little bit nicer. The animation, it is kind of newer, so obviously they stepped up their animation game a little bit. There are a few, you know, little things here and there that people pick out, things that's far away, you know, it's not gonna be perfect. The stuff they do work on, that they budget, like especially the magic. Rudy kind of starts dabbling into magic. I think his first spell is this big water ball. But you can tell, like, you know, the water looks good, the movement, all that stuff, the shine coming out the water. I think they did a great job. I'll go to 4 out of 5. Oh, rewatchability. So again, there is 2 seasons, so it is kind of a long one for those who are looking for something. Again, if you're in that show hole, you don't really know what to watch, but you need something to take up that time. This is a good one. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 on rewatchability. Again, it's a longer one, so if you're kind of just into that, or if you're someone who can, you know, take down a show real quick or like one night, like some people, I think it'd be good for you. Overall, I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5. It is one of my top shows. I wouldn't put it as my favorite show. I probably could put it in my top 3, but it is something I would definitely recommend to some people who are starting off into that genre, especially of isekais, if that's your thing. So that's a 4 out of 5 for Benny. Moving on to the next one.
Okay, so the last one on my list is going to be Inuyashiki, The Last Hero. So if you follow us on Instagram, if you don't, the link is down below. I've done like a personal review of this show in the past. I watched it last year. Yeah, last year I watched it. And it definitely was a show. It was a show, man. So let's just start off with the story, what we're going to talk about and rate it. The story itself is a story about an old man named Inuyashiki, and he kind of gets treated like a piece of shit from his whole entire family. Everyone hates him. Everyone at his job, everyone at his home. The only person who really enjoys him is his dog. That's the only person that likes him. So he kind of goes through a depression episode where he's like, what do I live for? My daughter hates me, my wife hates me, everybody at work thinks I'm a piece of shit, and he kind of just like wants to off himself at that point. And one night he's walking home and he's just like on his last legs. He's like, you know what? I think this is it. I think I'm just gonna freaking just do it. I'm gonna off myself and no one's gonna care about me, and it's just gonna be over. And he looks up in the sky and all of a sudden, big old thing of light hits him, and it's aliens, man, aliens. So what happens is he gets augmented by these aliens. He gets a bunch of upgrades to his body. He realizes that he is half robot, and so at that point he's like, you know what, I may be old, but now I can do what I want in this life, and that is to be a good person and save anybody who needs my help, because I owe it to myself to just do right. So he ends up becoming a superhero, but going along with that, he meets a bad guy, and the bad guy, we'll get into that in a second. So for the first category of story itself, this story is pretty fucking great. You know what? It was a surprise for me. It's on Amazon Prime. It's just one of those weird random shows that I found. It's gained popularity throughout the years have gone by. There's been clips online like I've seen on TikTok and like Instagram where it's like, oh, I can't believe he did this, and it's scenes from the show. So yeah, the story itself for me, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. I really did enjoy it. There's some points in the story where I get kind of sad and depressed, because it is one of those shows that will make you sad and depressed. The story itself, 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. So then let's move on to the bad guys and the characters. So the next category is characters. So the characters of the show, like I mentioned earlier, we have the main guy, Inuyashiki, who is our main protag, old man, sweet old man. He just down on his luck, man. It's not his fault. And then we have the antagonist, probably one of the most badass protagonists we have ever seen. These are the clips that I see online all the time. It's him going bang bang and he's like killing birds with just shots, and everyone's like, what the fuck, how's he doing that? It's because he also is part alien, and he's using his powers to do the opposite of what Inuyashiki is doing. He doesn't want to save the world. He just wants to fucking end it, because he doesn't care. He's just like a kid who was just like always better than everybody, and it was kind of like the prodigy son, and he got powers, and he became even more annoying. Those people in school who are always like, oh, I'm top of the class in this percentile, and da 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 da. He is that, plus he has powers, so he's just like, you know what, fuck this world. And he's just a bad guy. He walks into random houses in afternoons and just walks in and kills everybody in the house for no reason, because he's bored. Because why not? Why it's a game to him. He kills this entire lady's family, and the daughter's left alive, and all he does is walk up to her and says, hey, you like manga? Have you read this one? And he tries to talk to her about manga. Like, he's just unhinged. He is the ultimate bad guy, the great foil to Inuyashiki. Hiro is young and talented, and Inuyashiki is old and a piece of shit. So it's a total like clash of the personalities. So the characters for me, 5 out of 5 Dragon Balls, the best that you can get. You can get the goodest of goods and the evilest of evils, and they clash. Next category we're going to talk about is going to be their costumes and their outfits. Again, nothing too crazy with their outfits here. Hiro mainly just wears like his school uniform. It's like a little suit with a little tie. And then Inuyashiki, he kind of goes shirtless when he becomes like a superhero mode. He like just all shirtless, old man body, gray hairs, old balls, gross. He's that type. So the costumes aren't really crazy. So as far as those go, I'm going to give it like 2 out of 5 Dragon Balls, because they're just like, they're secondary to the story. And then next category is going to be the rewatchability of the show. So it is dark, like I mentioned earlier. It gets you feeling like real sad and like, you know, hopeless. So I don't know if it has a high rewatchability because of that, because it's one of those shows where it's like, I only want to watch it once, and one time it's enough for me. So I think I'm gonna just give it like 1 out of 5 Dragon Balls as far as like rewatchability goes. But it is a fantastic show. So the overall rating for me, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. There are certain points where like it can improve, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. It's only about 1 season, so again, it's a quick watch. You can get through it real easy, and I definitely would recommend it to you if you do kind of like the horror suspense category. That this fits you. This fits like in that bill area, especially with like Halloween coming up. I guess it would kind of fit along those lines. So yeah, if you're into that, like in darker anime, I definitely would recommend 4 out of 5 Dragon Balls. If you're not, stay away from this. Stay far away from this. It's not for you. It's gonna make you sad and depressed.
And finally, ended it off with a bang. I'm hitting you with Jujutsu Kaisen. So for those who aren't really in anime, this could be a good first one for you to get into. For those who are, you probably already know what this is. So as far as the story goes, you have Itadori Yuji. Yuji is a young high school man. He is really good at track and field. He's a strong young man, but he's not really into that. He's into ghosts and curses and spirits. So he's part of this occult research club with these other 2 outcast kind of kids, because he's kind of an outcast too. Unfortunately, his grandpa passes away, but before he does, he tells Yuji that he's like, be good. He's like, help people, do good things. He's like, don't die alone like I did. And he's like, you know what? I am gonna live better than that. As far as the story goes, I was a 5 out of 5 for me. Love the story, love all about that stuff. Cursed energy, overpowered people. So fantastic. A little bit of tragedy, a lot of happiness. It has a lot of comedic relief in it too. There's plenty of action, so I think it's great. It's great for a show for anyone to start watching. Moving into the animation. The animation it's pretty much top tier. Like as far as like the show as a whole, it's pretty basic, nothing too crazy. It's more so when they get into like the curses, the demons, the powers, like that shit pops off. The colors, like the detail, every small little thing. That's a 5 out of 5 for me. Like I don't need to say too much about it. You just have to watch like for you to get it. It's insane. The characters, you have Yuji, Megumi, Kugisaki, and Gojo. Those are your main 4. Those are like the main protag group of the whole thing. I think they did a great job with these guys. They all kind of have, again, their own individual personalities, kind of things that make them stick out. Yuji is more of like hand-to-hand fighter, like I'll beat the shit out of you. Megumi uses like spirit animals and shit like that. And again, Kugisaki has like her nails and dolls and stuff like that. Gojo wears a blindfold all the time, so you don't really know what's going on with him. But as you find out later, he's actually strong as fuck. There are a few side characters you meet, like the villain. He's like crazy because he just likes to experiment on people, and he wants to create like dolls, and he can touch your soul. It's insane. So all in all, I think the characters are great. That's a 4 out of 5. I don't really find too many flaws in most of the characters, and you kind of can relate to everybody. Costumes and outfits. This is gonna get right off the bat a 3 out of 5 for me. It's gonna go right in the middle, maybe 2.5 out of 5 for me, because there's nothing too crazy. Again, it's your kind of like their typical school uniforms. They're all blue, you know, just a simple button up, long sleeve, pants, nothing that really sticks anybody out from everything. So that's probably, me costumes wise, is again like 2.5, maybe 3. As far as rewatchability goes, again, it's like a typical kind of shonen thing. I think if it came out earlier, or if say like Naruto and them didn't exist, this could easily take top 3 of the big 3 in the shonen world. So rewatchability, a 5 out of 5. I could watch this over and over again. I could watch the movie over and over again, and I'm excited for the second season coming out hopefully soon. So if you haven't seen this, definitely give it a watch. 5 out of 5 Dragon Balls for me, and I think that's it for me.
All right, guys, so those are our breakdowns for you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them. Hopefully you found some shows that you might be interested in checking out. Thank you guys for watching as always. Go ahead and subscribe down below, follow us down below, all that fun stuff. So with that being said, go ahead and watch some more shows and let us know what some of your favorite shows are. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.